I never imagined that one day I would stand here with a heart full of memories and say these words out loud, that I am leaving America. This place has been more than just a country to me. It has been a chapter of my life, a quiet teacher, and sometimes even a friend that listened without speaking. In the streets, in the small moments, in the faces of strangers who became familiar over time, I found pieces of myself I didn't know existed. America gave me nights of hope, mornings of possibility, and days where I learned what it means to keep moving forward, even when the road feels uncertain. And now, as I prepare to leave, I realize something beautiful and bittersweet at the same time. Leaving a place doesn't mean leaving the memories behind, because the memories travel with you, quietly living in your heart wherever you go. America was never just a destination on a map to me. It became a story that unfolded slowly, day by day, moment by moment, until one morning I realized that the story had quietly wrapped itself around my heart. When I first arrived here, everything felt larger than life. The streets seemed wider, the buildings taller, and the possibilities almost endless. There was a feeling in the air that whispered to anyone willing to listen that life could be rebuilt here, that dreams could be shaped with patience and courage. I remember walking through unfamiliar neighborhoods with nothing but curiosity in my pocket and hope in my chest, wondering what kind of person I would become in a place so full of movement and noise and ambition. Over time, the unfamiliar slowly became familiar. The sounds of the city at night turned into a rhythm I could recognize, even with my eyes closed. The glow of streetlights on quiet sidewalks started to feel comforting instead of distance. Small routines began forming without me noticing. A morning coffee that tasted a little better when the sun came through the window just right. A certain street corner where the wind always carried the scent of food from nearby restaurants. The soft hum of conversations in parks where people sat on benches, sharing stories that had nothing to do with me and yet somehow made the world feel connected. Living here taught me something that I did not fully understand before. It taught me that places are not defined by the borders on a map, but by the moments we experience inside them. A city becomes meaningful not because of its skyline, but because of its skyline, but because of the laughter you hear while walking through it. A country becomes important not because of its size, but because of the memories that quietly collect in your life while you are there. There were nights when the world felt incredibly big, and I felt incredibly small inside it. Nights when I walked alone under long stretches of streetlights, thinking about where life had taken me and where it might lead next. In those quiet hours, America felt like a silent companion. It did not speak, but it allowed me to think, to question, to grow. Sometimes growth happens loudly, with celebrations and victories, but more often it happens quietly, when no one is watching. I learned patience here. I learned that building a life in a new place takes time, humility, and a willingness to accept that not every day will feel like progress. Some days felt heavy with doubt, as if the road ahead had disappeared into fog. But even in those moments, something inside me kept moving forward. Maybe it was the spirit of the place itself, a kind of invisible encouragement that lives in the people who chase their dreams here. Every single day, there were moments of beauty that arrived without warning. Noise turns into music. Sunsets that painted the sky with colors I had never seen before. The way strangers sometimes smiled at each music, other in passing as if acknowledging that everyone was on their own complicated journey. Conversations that started with simple greetings and turned into unexpected connections. Those moments reminded me that even in a fast and restless world, there is still space for kindness. America also showed me what it means to search for yourself. In a place filled with so many different cultures, voices, and stories, it becomes impossible not to reflect on your own story. You begin to ask questions that you might never have asked before. Who am I becoming? What do I want from this life? What kind of mark do I want to leave on the world around me? The answers did not arrive all at once. They arrived slowly, like pieces of a puzzle scattered across years of experience. Each challenge added a new piece. Each friendship added another. Even the difficult moments had their own quiet lessons hidden inside them. There were days when the city felt alive with energy, as if every street carried a thousand ambitions moving at once. People rushing toward opportunities, chasing dreams that felt just within reach. Music, watching that energy, was inspiring. It reminded me that human beings have an incredible ability to believe in something bigger than themselves. But there were also quiet days when the world slowed down, days when I sat somewhere simple, maybe on a bench or near a window, just observing life as it moved around me. Those moments felt peaceful in a way that is hard to explain. They were reminders that not every moment has to be extraordinary to be meaningful. The truth is, living here changed me in ways that I am still discovering. It gave me resilience I didn't know I possessed. It showed me that stepping into the unknown can be frightening, but also incredibly rewarding. Every unfamiliar step becomes part of the journey that shapes who you are. And now I find myself standing at not it, or crossroads, preparing to say something I never thought would feel so complicated. I am leaving America. Those words sound simple, but inside them live thousands of memories. Memories of first impressions, of small victories, of long conversations, of quiet reflections. Leaving does not erase those memories. If anything, it makes them clearer. It allows you to look back and realize how much a place has given you without asking for anything in return. A place that allowed you to grow, to stumble, to learn, and to stand back up again. There is a strange kind of love that develops between a person and the place where they spend an important chapter of their life. It is not the loud kind of love that demands attention. It is the quiet kind that lives in ordinary moments. The kind that reveals itself when you realize you will miss things you once took for granted. I will miss the sound of life moving through the streets. I will miss the feeling of possibility that lives in the air here. Your life and the noise turns into music. I will miss the sense that every day holds the potential for something unexpected. But leaving is not always about loss. Music. Sometimes leaving is about honoring the journey that brought you here in the first place. It is about recognizing when a chapter has reached its natural ending, even if the story itself continues. Life has a way of guiding us through different landscapes, different cities, different experiences, each one shaping us in ways we never fully anticipate. When we move on from one place to another, we carry those experiences with us like invisible luggage filled with lessons and memories. America will always remain a part of my story, not just because I lived here, but because I learned here. I discovered new strengths here, music. I met people who reminded me that humanity is far more connected than we often realize. Even as I prepare to leave, I feel a deep sense of gratitude for everything this place has given me. Gratitude for the opportunities, the challenges, the unexpected moments that quietly became unforgettable memories. There is something poetic about departures. They force us to pause and reflect on the path behind us. They remind us that life is not a single destination, but a series of journeys, each one meaningful in its own way. When I look back on my time here, I will not just remember the big moments, I will remember the small ones too. The ordinary mornings, the quiet walks, the feeling of standing somewhere unfamiliar and realizing that somehow it had become a part of my life. Those moments are the true treasures of any journey. They are the pieces of life that stay with you long after you have moved on to somewhere new. And as I take this step forward into the unknown once again, I carry with me the quiet understanding that every place we live becomes a part of who we are, shaping us gently, patiently, and sometimes invisibly until one day we realize that the journey itself has changed us forever. There are moments in life when love does not ask us to stay. Instead, love quietly asks us to stay. Instead, love quietly asks us to understand, to listen, and to accept that every journey has a season. Sometimes the deepest form of respect we can give to a place that once held our dreams is to recognize when the chapter we were living inside it has reached its natural pause. Leaving does not mean the love disappears. It means the love has matured enough to understand that holding on too tightly can prevent both the person and the place from continuing their own stories. When I think about America, I do not only think about buildings, highways, or cities filled with lights. Here, I think about moments, small moments that seemed ordinary when they were happening, but now feel incredibly meaningful as I look back on them. I think about the first time I walked through unfamiliar streets with a sense of curiosity and uncertainty. I remember wondering how a place so far from where I once stood could someday feel familiar, almost like a second home. The truth about arriving somewhere new is that at first, everything feels distant. The language, the rhythm of life, the pace of the streets, even the silence feels different. But slowly, without you noticing, the unfamiliar begins to soften. The streets begin to feel recognizable. The sounds of the city become part of your daily life. You begin to know where the sun sets in the evening and which corners of the city feel peaceful when the day becomes too heavy. Over time, you realize that a place has started to shape you, not in dramatic ways, but in quiet ones. It changes how you think, how you see the world, and sometimes even how you see the world, and sometimes even how you understand yourself. Living in America became one of those experiences for me. It was not just about living in a different country. It was about learning how to adapt, how to observe, and how to grow in an environment that constantly reminds you that life is moving forward. There is a certain energy here that is difficult to describe. It is the energy of people chasing dreams, people working hard to build something meaningful for themselves and for the people they care about. When you live among that energy long enough, it becomes contagious. It encourages you to ask bigger questions about your own life. Music. It pushes you to imagine possibilities that once felt far away. There were days when that energy felt powerful, almost electric. Walking through busy streets filled with people from different cultures and backgrounds reminded me that the world is far more connected than we sometimes realize. Each person had their own story, their own struggles, their own hopes quietly guiding their steps forward. And yet, even in a place so alive with movement, there were moments of stillness, moments when the noise of the world faded into the background and allowed space for reflection. Those moments often came during quiet walks at night or during peaceful mornings when the city had not fully awakened yet. In those quiet spaces, I often found myself thinking about life in a deeper way, about the choices we make and the paths we follow, about how sometimes we arrive somewhere believing we know exactly what we are searching for, only to discover that the journey itself changes the meaning of that search. America became a place where I learned patience, not the kind of patience that comes easily, but the kind that grows slowly through experience. Building a life in a new place takes time. It takes resilience. It takes the willingness to accept that not everything will happen as quickly or as smoothly as we might hope. There were moments of success, moments when things seemed to align perfectly, and the future looked bright and promising. But there were also moments of uncertainty, moments when the road ahead seemed unclear. Those moments taught me something important about growth. Growth is not always comfortable, and sometimes it asks us to face challenges that reveal parts of ourselves we did not know existed. Through every challenge, there was also learning how to trust the process of life even when the outcome is uncertain. Learning how to find strength during quiet moments of doubt, learning how to appreciate the journey instead of constantly chasing the destination. Over time, the idea of America transformed in my mind. It stopped being just a place where I lived. It became a chapter of my personal story, a chapter filled with lessons, friendships, discoveries, and reflections. But life has a way of moving forward, even when we grow comfortable where we are. This turns into music. The same courage that once brought me here now whispers that it may be time to continue the journey somewhere else. That realization is never easy. When you spend enough time somewhere, pieces of your life become attached to it. The streets hold memories of conversations and laughter. Certain places remind you of moments when life felt meaningful in ways that words cannot easily explain. Even ordinary locations carry emotional weight because they witness parts of your life unfolding. Leaving a place like that can feel complicated. It can feel like saying goodbye to a version of yourself that existed during that time. But perhaps that is the nature of life. We are always evolving, always moving through different versions of who we once were. Sometimes love means staying, but sometimes love means staying. But sometimes love means recognizing when it is time to step forward into a new chapter. Not because the current chapter was not meaningful, but because it gave you exactly what you needed at that moment in your life. I believe every place we live becomes part of us. It leaves traces inside our memories, shaping our perspectives in ways that remain long after we leave. America has given me experiences that I will carry with me forever. Experiences that I help me grow not only as a person navigating the world, but also as someone learning to appreciate the beauty of life's unpredictability. One of the most beautiful lessons I learned here is that life rarely follows the exact plan we imagine. Sometimes the unexpected turns out to be the most meaningful part of the journey. Music, a conversation with a stranger, can change your perspective. A random opportunity can lead you somewhere you never planned to go. Living here showed me how interconnected human experiences truly are. People from different backgrounds, cultures, and beliefs all sharing the same streets, the same skies, the same search for happiness and purpose. It reminded me that despite our differences, there are universal emotions that connect all of us: hope, fear, ambition, love, the desire to belong somewhere. And yet, belonging is a complex feeling. Sometimes we belong to a place for a certain period of our lives, and then life gently guides us toward a different path. That does not make the time we spent there any less meaningful. If anything, it makes those memories even more valuable, because they represent a specific chapter of who we were at that time. As I prepare to leave America, I do not feel regret. Instead, I feel gratitude. Gratitude for the opportunities this place offered. Gratitude for the experiences that challenged me and helped me grow stronger. Gratitude for the people who crossed my path and left impressions on my life. Leaving does not erase those things. They remain with me, quietly woven into the story of my life. Sometimes we imagine that goodbyes must be dramatic or painful, but sometimes they are quiet and thoughtful. Assess, implate, acknowledgement that the road ahead is calling us to keep moving. I believe life is a series of journeys rather than a single destination. Each place we live teaches us something unique. Each experience adds depth to the person we are becoming. America was never just a temporary stop on my path. It was a teacher. It was a mirror that helped me see parts of myself more clearly. It was a chapter filled with moments that I will always remember. And as I move forward toward whatever comes next, I carry those memories with respect and appreciation. Because in the end, leaving a place that meant something to you does not diminish its importance. It simply acknowledges that life continues to unfold, guiding us toward new experiences, new perspectives, and new chapters waiting quietly somewhere beyond the horizon.